Hey everyone, and welcome back to another explainer. Today we are diving into a totally fascinating and honestly pretty chilling narrative based on the real-world legends of Rajasthan's most infamous ruined fortress. It's a spot where literally thousands of tourists flock every single year just to take in the breathtaking ancient architecture. But get this, the Archaeological Survey of India actually placed a physical, legal warning sign right near the entrance. You see, you can totally visit during the day, but there is a massive catch. Absolutely no one, and I mean no one, is allowed to stay inside those gates after dark. It's a strictly enforced rule. And the story we're breaking down today, well, it explores exactly why that rule exists. It's a tale of history, a whole lot of arrogance, and a silence that feels, well, intensely alive. Now, I want you to picture this. You're standing at this towering stone entrance, right? And the sun is just beginning to dip. An elderly guard stops you, letting you know you've got barely an hour left and you absolutely must leave before sunset. When you ask him what happens if you don't, he doesn't yell, he doesn't threaten you, he just looks right into your eyes and gives you this haunting, super cryptic warning: the fort remembers. It's this beautifully understated moment in the text that completely sets the stage for everything that follows, because we realize right then, this isn't just a ruined building, it's an entity, and it has a memory. But of course, in any great story like this, warnings are just entirely ignored. Our narrative centers on 5 individuals. And you know, these aren't naive kids we're talking about. These are 5 incredibly confident, successful adults who literally laughed right in the face of that elderly guard. They heard the local legends, they got the direct warning, and they simply smiled, grabbed their wildly expensive camera gear, and marched right past him, straight into the ruins. Okay, let's dive into this group, because their dynamic is absolutely crucial to how this whole nightmare unfolds. First up, we have Arav. He's a wildly successful travel filmmaker with millions of subscribers, and he totally thrives on the danger of haunted places. Why? Because danger equals views, right? Then there's Kabir, his completely fearless photographer. We've got Mira, a brilliant historian who knows the ancient lore of India inside and out. There's Rohan, your classic skeptic who insists every ghost story has some boring scientific explanation. And finally, Nisha. She's the documentary editor who actually read up on Bhangarh Fort beforehand and almost backed out of the whole trip. But together, they are armed with logic, the latest technology, and honestly just sheer modern arrogance. So for the first hour or so, Rowan the skeptic seems completely right. I mean, the daylight experience is just stunning. We're talking broken arches covered in dry leaves, wild peacocks wandering around freely, Mira happily explaining the rich history of the Old Kingdom. It's a beautiful, completely normal tourist drop. But the exact second the final rays of sunlight disappear beneath the Aravalli Hills, everything shifts. And it's not really a visual change at first, actually, it's an emotional one. The air itself suddenly becomes incredibly thick and heavy. Even the birds instantly stop singing. Every single cell phone loses signal completely. No network, no GPS, no internet, just gone. The absolute silence drops over them like a concrete vault. And right into that dead, incredibly heavy silence, a sound finally breaks through. A loud, heavy bell echoes through the fort walls. It rings out once, twice, exactly 3 times. Now, historian Mira is completely thrown off by this. She knows for a fact that there are absolutely 0 working bells left anywhere in these ruins. Yet, the sound is 100% real. And worse, it is getting closer. Drawn by that impossible sound, they look toward an abandoned temple entrance. Nisha thinks she sees someone standing there, but when they look with their own naked eyes, the doorway is completely empty. Arav even zooms in with his high-tech camera, checking the digital viewfinder, and still nothing. But here is the truly terrifying detail the source text reveals. Later on, when that footage was finally recovered, it wasn't empty at all. Standing right there in the temple entrance was a woman dressed in ancient royal clothing, her face completely hidden beneath a veil. She was watching them. Totally unseen by the human eye, but perfectly captured by the cold digital lens. Now, what's really terrifying about this is how the physical geometry of the place literally weaponizes against them. The group decides, yep, it is time to leave. So they walk back down the exact road they came in on. But the main gate is just gone. The road simply disappears into an endless wall of solid stone. Frantic, they turn around, try another path, and it spits them right back into the exact same courtyard. No matter what they do, every single road they take leads back to where they started. In minutes, these wide-open ruins have rapidly shifted into a claustrophobic, inescapable stone maze. And then the panic really sets in, and the story rapidly escalates. They start hearing footsteps. And not just one person. A massive crowd, walking slowly, circling them in the pitch dark. Kabir whips his flashlight around, the beam cutting through the blackness until it hits an old palace balcony. Standing right there is a figure. Then another one. Then another. Within seconds, dozens of shadowy silhouettes line the entire balcony, standing perfectly still and entirely faceless. Nisha screams. The flashlight flickers out for just 1 single second. And when the beam comes back on, the balcony is completely, totally empty. Just listen to how incredibly fast their reality completely crumbles here. At sunset, the atmosphere weaponizes against them. Minutes later, all modern technology and communication is wiped out. Shortly after that, their physical escape route literally vanishes into thin air. And then, time itself just breaks. They are trapped in the dark for what feels to them like hours. Their water bottles empty out. The physical temperature plummets to freezing. But when they check their devices, every single watch, every single dead phone screen they desperately try to power on, they are all locked on exactly the same time, 7:13 p.m. So the crucial point, really the thesis for this entire nightmare, is actually carved directly into the freezing stone. As they huddle together in the dark palace courtyard, Mira spots this strange ancient Sanskrit text on the floor. She translates it out loud. "Those who enter with arrogance shall become part of the silence." This wasn't just some bad luck. It was a punishment. The fort was reacting directly to the sheer arrogance they brought through its gates. Right after she reads that warning, a freezing wind rushes through the courtyard, and that crushing silence is broken by a single, impossible whisper. Arav. The voice echoes from deep inside the dark palace. Arav completely freezes, because it's a very specific nickname spoken in a very specific tone. It's a voice belonging to his mother, who had passed away years ago. Despite all his friends begging him not to go, Arav's grief completely overpowers his logic. He follows that whisper deep into the palace halls. His friends chase after him, plunging into the total darkness, until they find him standing in front of this enormous dust-covered mirror. Arav reaches out and wipes the dust away. But what they see in the glass, it isn't their own reflection. The mirror is a window into the past. It shows the very room they are standing in, but centuries ago. It's brightly lit with warm torches, filled with magnificent royal guards, and echoing with beautiful ancient music. It is a living, breathing court trapped right there in the glass. At the absolute center of this magnificent reflection stands a queen. And as Arav stares into the glass, the queen slowly turns her head. She looks directly through the mirror. She locks eyes with Arav. And then, in terrifying unison, every single person in that reflection turns. Their eyes are bottomless black. The glass explodes, the entire palace violently shakes, and those ancient whispers erupt into absolute deafening screams. And this brilliantly illustrates pure survival instinct. Kabir violently grabs Arav, snapping him out of it, and they just run. The empty halls erupt with the sound of hundreds of footsteps giving chase right behind them. They can't even see what's hunting them. They can only feel its breath and see these shifting shadows on the walls. They sprint blindly through the maze of the fort for hours, running purely on terror, until finally, miraculously, they reach the outer wall just as the first crack of dawn lights up the sky. The very second the sunlight touches the stone of the fort, the screaming stops. That suffocating, heavy atmosphere just evaporates. The main gate, which had vanished hours ago, is suddenly standing wide open. But as the dust settles, only one person stumbles out. Arav collapses near the entrance, entirely alone. The local forest guards eventually find him unconscious in the dirt. When Arav wakes up, frantically insisting that his friends are still trapped inside, massive search teams are deployed. They spend days, literally days, combing every single inch of those ruins. They find Kabir's smashed camera. They find tripods. They find abandoned backpacks exactly where they dropped them, but they find absolutely zero trace of the other 4 people. Months later, the police managed to recover the digital memory card from Arav's camera. Almost all the data on it is heavily corrupted, just completely unplayable, except that is for the very last 30 seconds. This footage shows Arev's point of view as he is running frantically toward the exit, but in the video, he turns the camera back to look at his friends. And what the footage shows is beyond chilling. They aren't running with him. Kabir, Mira, Rohan, and Nisha are just standing there in the palace hallway, perfectly still, and they are smiling, just quietly watching Arev leave them behind. Arav never made another video. He never went back to that fort. When his millions of fans ask him what really happened that night, he completely refuses to elaborate on the details. He only ever offers them this one solemn piece of advice. Some places don't want to be explored. They want to be remembered. It is a heavy, incredibly enduring reminder that ancient history isn't just content for our entertainment. It demands our profound respect. Which brings us to the most unsettling part of this entire explainer. You see, the legend of Bhangarh Fort continues to grow. Today, if you visit the ruins and look very carefully up at that old palace balcony right as the sun begins to set, well, some tours claim to see figures standing in the shadows. Exactly 5 silent figures, waiting patiently in the dark. Which leaves us with one terrifying final question. If there are 5 figures waiting on that balcony, who is the 5th person they found to complete their group?